If you look at it from the material availability in the market, our cost of construction is in dollar price increase हो रही है, the cost of construction is also increasing. Now one thing that we are very apt with understanding is whatever we need to design has to be constructed. You can look up a lot of online references, you can look up a lot of amazing stuff that internationally architects are doing, and you find it here, it's so simple, yet those materials that they're working with are not locally available. Couple of years ago, just to understand this issue, we went to this exhibition in Dubai called Big Five. They have it every year just to understand the kind of products that the world is using. Now, what happens in that is when you start bringing those products to the local market, the price factor changes, import duties change. So we become in a very big fix that whatever we are going to use has to be something that we are able to create on our own, primarily so that everything is easy for us to execute. I'm not talking about limiting the design, I'm just talking about using of the material. So when you talk about a lot of innovations in terms of softwares or anything else in terms of, so उसके अंदर हमें होता ये है कि यार we have to understand our limitations to availability of a lot of things. Yes, within that we always break beyond the box. We always have to think out of the box because that is how creativity comes through. In my opinion, architecture or field of interior design is something that is a testament of times in terms that when you are traveling abroad internationally, किसी भी मुल्क जाते हो, the first thing that you do is you go on city tours, you look around at the architecture that was created hundreds of years ago and you get mesmerized कि यार at a time when there was no technology available for, yet they were able to create that. And that is something that we take inspiration from. If the pyramids could have been made in that century where there is no understanding of how they were able to build it, I think that speaks enough for us to understand कि यार हम अपनी limitation से ना उसी को understand कर लेना कि यार हम उसको break कर सकते हैं, then it really doesn't matter. I'll talk about a recently completed project which was completed about a year or 2 years back. It was a restaurant we started off working almost right after COVID. COVID struck around March, we were shut till May, June, more or less. Now, in November, September, October, November, somewhere there, we started off working on this restaurant called Coconut Grove, that is on Tipu Sultan. When we started working on that restaurant, we realized one thing, here, we are not going to make this restaurant expensive. In terms of the cost of the project, we are going to ensure that we are able to manage it in a certain budget. The client didn't give us a budget, there was no budget to the project, but we had a conscious decision that we need to create that. And everything and anything that was constructed, we were very clear, यार हम एक कोशिश करेंगे imported products कम से कम लगाएं. Unfortunately हमारे पास certain limitations हैं, light fixtures import होते हैं, marble import होता है, these kind of things, and we took a stance to it. We said यार लाइटें बनानी है ना हम खुद बनाएंगे. So we designed out the lights. There is no catalog for it, there is no vendor for it. एक लोहार था और एक idea था, and that was put together. So that is how we were able to look beyond the obvious. बहुत आसान है यार आप मार्केट चले जाओ चीज़ें खरीद लो and that's about it. But here we were talking about the fact that A, we want to avoid using imported products, and B, we want to create things that is something not Pinterest copied. In terms, I mean, I would not want to be labeled कि यार online reference देखिए छाप दिए. That's not design as per se. हाँ बहुत सारे लोग करते भी हैं. It is yes to take inspiration from, but having an image and replicating it are two different things. We talk about project costings and all that ना, तो हमें होता यही है कि यार imported product है, महंगा होगा, ठीक है. So we wanted to break through it because we wanted to make things much more economical to what spending could be. हाँ, despite that, yes, it did come across to a lot of people as an expensive restaurant, but that is not for the money spent. That is for the visual appeal that it creates. The flooring that we've used on the internal halls, all local marble. We were very specific when we were doing all the recce for the marbles and all. We told the contractor, हमें सब local marble देने. And then what we did was we broke it around and we created our own patterns and created a very intricate flooring pattern throughout the space. our meetings at site used to start, अभी रमज़ान भी आ गया था दरमियान में, इशा के बाद जो है we used to have site meeting और फजर तक चलती थी. Why? Because the client was enjoying the project, the architect was enjoying the project, the contractor were having an amazing time, because there were no drawings for that project. That project was conceived standing at site. So you could actually visualize everything in three-dimensionality at that time to be able to understand, yeah, okay, these are things. There are a lot of times we made things and we broke it off. We never said, yeah, ek bar design kar liya, so that's it. We were able to break it off and the client was agreeable to it because it made a lot of sense to the project. We had an open playing field, but हम जब दीवारें लगाते थे हम कहते थे यार ये जगह थोड़ी टाइट महसूस हो रही है, because we had to visualize the project when it would be running. ठीक है, and with a lot of plantation and thousands of people coming every week, so we had a lot of constructive discussions from that time, from Isha to Fajr, because that was the fun time we were. Because if you can't have fun in a project, na, then that project just feels a burden on you. You just want to let go of it and not enjoy it. Technology could be looked at from 2 points when it comes to construction. A is how technology is developing the products which the architects or the interior designers are using. B, how the technology is being utilized by the designer themselves to help them achieve their goal in terms of their design process. Like again, we were talking about pyramids. Pyramids were constructed at a time there was no 3Ds, right? So then there came a time when manual drafting changed into automated drafting, then the 3D softwares came. So there has been a journey that takes to and through. But technologically, आज के दौर में we are standing at a time when AI is picking up. And when AI is picking up, that means the time when industrial revolution took place and all the factories, workers got converted into machines. Eventually आप ये देखोगे कि भाई ऑफिस के अंदर जो है ना वो भी मशीनें बैठी हुई होंगी and there are not going to be any human beings. So technology is actually going to supersede our ability to work. That's how machines work. They have no rest days, they have no sick days, they have no emotions. They are working on a constant speed. So if you look at AI, AI is something that we have recently been very fascinated with. आप online जाते हो, आप 4 words देते हो और it gives you a glimpse or an image of what your words could mean out. Now, if those 4 seconds का जो time machine ने लिया वो मुझे 4 दिन लगते हैं. So this, like initially we talked about the fact that Pinterest is a tool where it becomes a visual understanding for an architect to be able to gather images to sort of consolidate, yeah, this is my design process, and to able to explain to people, yeah, this is what I intend to do. AI is one step ahead. It is just asking you for 4 words, 5 words, 10 words or a sentence, and it is giving you options on a click. So हर 10 सेकंड बाद वो आपको ऑप्शन देता है, आप कहते हो यार मैं I could have gone in this direction, I could have so it is creating a lot of possibilities in terms that it is speeding up your thought process, because eventually anything that you do, if you break down the cost of it, is dependent on the amount of effort that you're going to put in. आप किसी कारपेंटर को बोलोगे दरवाज़ा बना दो, वो पहले सोचेगा यार मुझे 2 दिन इस पे लगेंगे, 4 दिन ये काम करने के लगेंगे, पॉलिश के लगेंगे, बफिंग के लगेंगे. So he breaks down his cost to a fact कि यार उसको 5 दिन लग गए या 10 दिन लग गए to make a product. Now as an architect, if I have to design a space and I'm looking at कि अच्छा let's start a design process, thought process, that is always generally starts off with a research phase. A research phase might take an architect a day to 3 days. But if I type in like words and I know after a minute I have my research in front of me and I can pick and choose, I can mix and match things and see, then don't you think that technology, that AI is actually there for you to take a lead from and save your time? Because eventually the more time you spend on something, yes, you can say you're very dedicated, but it could be a very foolish exercise to waste time as well. Our intention is here in the local pretext or international pretext, if we look at it, AI is something that we are capping on here. This is the way to take a note from, but is there for us to be benefited from. बहुत सारे लोग अपनी थीसिस लिख रहे हैं, बहुत सारे लोग अपने बिजनेस प्रपोजल्स थ्रू AI बना रहे हैं. हम तो सिर्फ ये कह रहे हैं यार हमारा जो पर्दा लगा होता है ना इंसान का सामने, उसको हटाने के लिए इस्तेमाल कर. इवेंचुअली आप देख लेना AI would be so crisp and so pointed to the thought process कि वो ना आपसे 100 सवाल पूछेगा और आपको डिज़ाइन वो दे देगा जो क्लाइंट की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी. Eventually that time will come through. So बहुत सारी चीज़ें, like I said, industrial revolution, then factories and workers got laid off because machines were doing more effective work. Eventually ये process हर field के अंदर आएगा. इंटीरियर डिज़ाइन का फ्यूचर जो है ना, ये over the last 5 odd years I've started realizing is becoming minimalistic. It is doing away from unnecessary elements. It is getting back to the basics because it is becoming more about being practical. Actually, now when you talk about interior design, again, if you start breaking up genres of the work that you're doing, in terms of you might be doing an office interior, you might be doing a residential interior, you might be doing an XYZ like restaurant. So eventually हर genre के अंदर जो है ना वो एक thought process बड़ा फ़र्क है. I might not have a high end or like a big volume restaurant on a very clean lines. But if I was doing a very high-end, a small boutique, I might be able to pull it off depending on the requirements and the project and the space it is. So, इसके अंदर है ये कि eventually there have been a lot of international architects. One very famous one, Mies van der Rohe, he said that less is more. ठीक है? It means to be back to the basics, because eventually the lesser you have, the more you appreciate. अभी अनफॉर्चुनेटली आप डिफेंस की किसी भी गली में चले जाओ, आपको बड़े बड़े घर नज़र आएंगे, खिड़कियाँ छोटी बनी हुई होती हैं. हमारा philosophy when it comes to design process is very different. We say houses have to be open. Houses have to have natural light. Houses have to have ventilation. Houses have to have a sense of comfort. And that is the minimalism that we're talking about, going back to the basics. Eventually when human life formed on earth, एक प्रोसेस के थ्रू गए ना, केव के बाद छोटा सा शैक बनाया, शैक से और प्रोग्रेस करते घर. If you go back to the basics, you will be much more at peace with everything that you see in life. अच्छा, that does not mean that there is no design to it. You start designing to those basic principles of clean, straight lines and make it very crisp. There is no unnecessary drama, there are no unnecessary moldings or gaudy works, things like that. That is not our taste, but still making everything so bare and crisp that you start questioning here how exceptionally well that has been designed.